All right, we're recording now. Inside HilltopperSports.com crew is here. We're all here for the most part. Casey, Noah, Tyler, you're all on the Zoom cast. Appreciate you joining us. Obviously, it's game week. Thank God. Football is here. It was here this past weekend, but now it's here for Western Kentucky. So we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. We'll try to do these once every week, preview the next game, talk about what happened in Conference USA and all that. But speaking of that, we'll just go ahead and just dip right into it. I mean, Conference USA, 6 teams were in action this past weekend. So, yeah, I mean, it was pretty busy in the conference overall. And I know, Noah, you just did a recap on most of those games. You said you watched two of them in full, I assume. I assume you were totally sober the whole time you were watching those. So, I'll,
Yeah, absolutely. Before we hopped on, me and Tyler and I were fangirling over Grant Wells over at Marshall. A freshman stepping in his first game. It looked really good. Great footwork, really great precision, fitting into the tight windows and stuff. And he set the debut record for most passing yards of 307, and he lit up EKU with 4 touchdowns in the first half, and then they relied on the running game in the second half. But yeah, I don't think anybody realized how dangerous they would be with Wells at quarterback, considering they have all the weapons around him at Marshall with Knox and all the guys on the outside. So they were really fun to watch this weekend. And Tyler, I want to hear it since we didn't get to talk much about it. What do you think about Wells? I have to know what you want to think because I was impressed. I don't know what you think, but I loved it.
Yeah, I watched the first few series, and I was like, this kid's pretty spot on. It's like all of his throws, he'd find the right guy. He made the right movements. He was running around back there. I was like, this dude's got an arm on him. And I was like, where'd he come from? Because I knew it was Isaiah Green last year. And I started looking around. I was like, this dude's a true freshman. And, I mean, he was like, at one time he was perfect passing still and 2 touchdowns and 3, then 4. I was like, they're just beating the brakes off EKU. And I was like, granted, it's an FCS school, but, man, this kid, for a true freshman, he acted like he played for 4 years already. So, I mean, it's pretty cool to see. And, of course, he's my offensive player of the week pick. So I'm sure he'll win it today. So we'll see.
Yeah, if I had the street cred, as we talked about, like you, I would totally vote him offensive player of the week too. Yeah, really poised in the pocket, great footwork, anticipating his windows. And then the other game out of the 4 that I watched, I love watching the triple option. I was so excited last year when the Black Knights got to come to Bowling Green, and I got to see 30 fullback dives from Connor Slomka. But this time it was Sandon McCoy. They got to beat up on Middle Tennessee State.
Jeez.
Yeah, Middle Tennessee State had a rough day in Mitchie Stadium. They really did. I love watching Army play, so it was great to see Army back in action. That's one of the joys I take in watching football is the triple option. So yeah, Middle Tennessee State really struggled. Gave up 350 yards on 60 attempts and 5 scores. And then Asher O'Hara, the starter from last year for Middle Tennessee State, really struggled too. He got pulled in the second half after throwing 2 picks and just couldn't get anything going on the ground with his legs either after I believe he ran for 1,000 yards last year. So already some question marks maybe with the Blue Raiders and how they're going to play moving forward because they were anticipated to be a little better than they were last year.
Yeah, they didn't look good at all. I didn't watch that full game, but I was seeing glimpses of it and checking stuff out. I was like, man, they're down 21-0. It was like they're down 42-0. It was just over and over. They just couldn't get anything together. And, of course, the Army, driving. Well, they had like a 19-play, 99-yard drive to like 12 minutes off the clock. I mean, you can't contend that. I mean, they're running all over. You can't get – I mean, you just can't – I don't understand. MTSU looked terrible. That was just it. I know it's Army and it's hard to stop that option, but they better fix things quick because if not, it'll be a rough year for them.
Yeah, and then
talk about fixing things. I mean, Southern Miss, I will throw this in there. Southern Miss obviously lost to South Alabama on Thursday night, 32-21. I think they were 13-point favorites going into that game. Now there's a lot of talk of Jay Hopkins in the hot seat. So he might –
with South Alabama, where they've been underdogs in double digits, they've won those games. So if South Alabama is a double-digit underdog on your card on a Saturday, take
it.
Yeah, no question. Take them.
All right, gambling options from Noah here. We're getting a little bonus stuff here.
I give out my advice every once in a while.
Well, now there's a lot of rumors going around that Jay Hopson's on the hot seat. He might have. So I think there was rumors going around on Twitter last night. He might have resigned. I don't think that's actually happened yet. So we'll see. I mean, it's kind of crazy stuff, but obviously not a good start for Southern Miss. You kind of talked about middle start, and it wasn't a good one either against Army. But like I love watching the Army offense, the triple option, a lot of fullback dives, good gritty stuff, man. I like the old school stuff. So Casey, you got anything to add to the Conference USA hot talk from the weekend?
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was worth noting that, you all talk about Grant Wells. That's an in-state kid, Charleston, West Virginia native.
Yeah.
That's always really cool to see. And, for us Western fans, that's kind of scary seeing as a true freshman is already doing that well. That's going to be somebody that might haunt us in the coming years. And then not only that, but another true freshman from UTEP, Deion Hankins. He had 113 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns to add for them. He's another in-state guy. So a couple of young bucks right there coming up for UTEP and Marshall. You love to see that. But like I said, kind of worrisome for us like WKU, knowing that they're going to have those guys in the coming years.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of good young talent in Conference USA. So it'd be cool to talk about this every week and just kind of recap what's going on around the conference and see other players that kind of step up their game and everything. So yeah, we'll get it going. Talk about WKU in Louisville, September 12th. It's Saturday, 7 p.m., ACC Network. That's where I'll be watching it anyway, and might have a frosty beverage in my hand. I'll let Tyler go ahead and just cover the game, and I'll just sit back and drink a few beers. So, obviously, the big news for Western, who was going to be the starting quarterback? We thought, obviously, with Tyrell Pegram coming in, we kind of thought that would probably be a pretty good possibility, just given his background at Maryland and everything like that. Obviously, Coach Hilton last week said he is the starter. So I will start with Casey this time. Just kind of give us your thoughts on WKU's offense, what you like about it going into the Louisville game with Pegram at the quarterback. What are some of the positives and negatives of Western's offense?
Well, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this game plays out compared to last year. Because you look at last year, 38-21, the score kind of lied a little bit. So it looks like, the game kind of got away from WKU in the end. But in reality, it was really close. You want to look at time of possession from last year, U of L had a 31-minute, 11-second time of possession. WKU had 28 minutes, 49 seconds. So that's a lot closer than the score, first of all. And then you just look at the rushing attack. That was really what told the difference of the game. U of L, 206 yards on the ground, 4.1 yards per carry. That's usually always going to be a recipe for success. And then you look at WKU's rushing yards. 43 yards on the ground, 1.9 yards per carry. That's not going to get it done any day of the week for any football game. So I think it's really going to be key in this game to see how that new rushing attack with Piggy T at the helm is going to work. You look at his last game, he was a starter. It was against Indiana last season, an October 19th game. They lost 34-28. That was Maryland lost to Indiana 34-28. He was 17-27, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and he only had 9 carries for 6 yards. So he's going to definitely need to get it done on the ground a little bit more against this Louisville team. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see what this offense kind of looks like and where their identity is. Seeing as, last year with Ty Story, there were a lot of check downs. At this point last year, Stephen Duncan was still the guy. They were still trying to push it downfield a little bit. So I'm really going to look to see, how comfortable Piggy T is, not only in the pocket, but, maybe in the read option and in the run game as well.
All right, I'll throw it over to Tyler. Tyler, I got a question for you. I saw Malik Cunningham's name is now different. What happened? I just saw that today.
Oh, it's the same guy. There was 2 Cunningham brothers on the same team. It's McHale Cunningham.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I just saw that
We were
today.
talking-
I never did see that till today. So
Yeah, see, I don't know if they were brothers or not, but I know one did this and one did this. But long story short, McHale Cunningham's their quarterback. He did play,
kind of the same question. What do you think about WKU's offense? So we'll talk about that.
I think it's going to be a work in progress, kind of how last year started. I don't see him scoring many points off the bat. I think defensively they'll be fine. But this game right here is one where Clayton White's defense has to be spot on, because I know that they have Tutu Atwell back who lit Western up last year, Louisville's receiver. McHale Cunningham's the quarterback again. He's improved. And also Des Fitzpatrick. So Helton said today that there's so many guys they have offensively that Western has to contain in order to stay into the game. But I think, like Casey said, if Pegram can get going, especially with the run, and see how things go from there, it could be good things for Western Saturday. But I know it's a tough game off the bat. And I know these 2 teams were even last year, but I think this year Louisville's got the edge just kind of a little bit, just because of what they bring back as well. And, of course, Western trying to figure out what to do with the quarterback position offensively, how to get some sets going there. But I think if Pegram can get the ball going pretty effectively to the air, and also take off for some runs there, maybe get Gage Walker and another back into the system early, just kind of see how things go. But it's going to be interesting to see. what all happens and what kind of schemes they run. But I think the biggest thing is defense for Western, because I think the offense will be a work in progress like it was last year. But if they can hold with Louisville defensively, I think it'll be a good game.
All right, sounds good. Obviously, defense, name of the game for Western Kentucky the last few years. Clayton White's definitely a hot name out there on the market. In terms of defensive coordinators, I could see him definitely being a head coach one day as well. So I know Power 5 teams are probably looking at him. And, Western's happy to keep him for another year. I don't know if he'll be here next year or not. So we'll see. Noah, your thoughts on just the WKU offense matching up against Louisville's defense? I know you've been kind of doing some research, film breakdown type stuff. What are you kind of seeing in terms of WKU's offense going up against Louisville?
So, as Casey talked about last year, Tops obviously struggled to get the ground game going, and I think with Piggy T, his legs will add – it's another dimension added to the run game instead of what they would run last year in terms of Brian Ellison, they call power, just straightforward, in between the guards and the centers with quarterbacks. But I think now with Piggy T, you open up your RPOs, and you may have a chance to sprinkle in some read options, triple options, stuff like that, multiple backfield sets. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get the run game going, because Louisville is not very big up front, but they have a lot of freaks. They are fast. Those guys are all made in labs. Rajay Burns, Dorian Etheridge. I mean, they have linebackers for them return punts. Like, these guys, they just have aliens all over the field playing defense. So I think Piggy T's athleticism will make a really big difference. But, of course, as Tyler said, the question that I have, and I think everybody has, is how is he going to be throwing the ball? Because, you look at last year, as Casey mentioned in the Indiana game, he was solid through the air with 200 yards, a couple of scores, and, was just above, 50% completion percentage. So I think that Hilltopper fans are wondering, what's it going to look like without Lucky Jackson now, and in terms of even breaking in a new quarterback at the same time and a new tackle to your right with Miles Pate gone. So I think everybody's wondering what's that going to look like in the air game, because if they can't establish a ground game, then you're going to have to win the battle through the air. So I think it's all going to come down to what's his arm look like, and how have the receivers in terms of Xavier Lane, Ja'Cour Pearson, and Jaquez Sloan developed over the course of the summer.
Sounds good, man. Good stuff there. I'll kind of flip the script a little bit. We'll talk about Western Kentucky's defense, how they kind of match up against Louisville's offense. And I'll start with Tyler on this one. Kind of give us your thoughts, Tyler, on that kind of matchup and what you kind of see and what you see, just kind of, I guess, storylines going into the game Saturday.
Oh, like I said, that defense will have to be on its game Saturday. I think limited their touches to Tutu Atwell. Louisville's receiver last year, he lit Western up. It was just like each play after big play, he would have all of them. Kind of secondary struggle that game, which is something that doesn't happen often for Western. I think contain him, get Cunningham uncomfortable a little bit, and kind of just do everything you can defensively to get them off their balance. Because if you do that, then Western has the ability to take over and score. And then once they get that lead, that defense should be able to hold from there. On paper, this matchup is pretty even. I know the line's 11.5 right now, but I think these are two teams that were in the same spot last year. They both had turnaround seasons, and now they're back in this spot for year two under their new coaches. And I think it's just one of those games where you'll see where both teams are at the start of things right now. So I think it's great for them to play week one, because there's so much things to see that progress throughout the rest of the season. Like I said, I think Louisville does have the edge just by a little bit, just because of what they have offensively. But I think Western's defense, like I said, if they can hold, they can be in the game. But if not, then I don't see them staying around for too long. Like, 38-21 last year, I think the score was. It was closer than that, but this year could be kind of the same way if they're not able to contend Louisville like the way they really can.
Good deal. I thought you were going to make a prediction there. I was like, hang on, dude.
I wouldn't jump the gun on you yet.
All right, Noah, I'll go to you. Kind of same question. Western's defense versus Louisville's offense. What do you kind of see in terms of breakdowns, matchups, things like that?
So here's my soapbox moment where I've dove my head into the film the most. So Louisville's a run-first offense. They pounded the rock at will last year, and that's exactly what they did against Western. Casey mentioned all the stats earlier, and so I think the most important thing is that they're going to have to win on first down, because Louisville's going to want to establish a run on first and second down, get Cunningham into those situations in third and second and short, to where he can make the easy throws, because he's not a guy that's going to anticipate windows or throw guys open. He's going to hit the open guys because they have, as Tyler mentioned, Tutu Atwell, who's another freak athlete. And then they have Marshawn Ford, who will be a really key piece. I feel like getting talked about enough out of the backfield as a blocker and just an H-back who can catch it in the flat whenever defensive ends crash down. So it'll be important for them to win up front at the line of scrimmage, because if not, then they're going to be struggling to get out of second and short, second and medium, third and short all day long. And then I'm not going to lie, looking across the depth chart, I have no idea who's going to match up with Tutu Atwell. That was something I thought about last year. I guess the one guy there's the two options that come to mind for me are Roger Cray with his athleticism, but then I think if you want to disrupt a guy in man-to-man coverage, you put your most lengthy guy on him, and that's Trey Meadows. I think from that nickel spot, they move him around from the slot and all across the formation. So if you put Trey Meadows on him, he can shadow him sideline to sideline, get his hands on him, make him a little uncomfortable, and just disrupt in terms of his route running. So I'm really intrigued to see how they match up with Tutu Atwell this time around. But of course, first and foremost, they're going to have to stop the run, because Louisville's offensive line is small, but they do a really good job of zone run blocking.
All right, good stuff. Noah, Casey, same thing, man. WKU's defense versus Louisville's offense. What are you kind of seeing in your eyes?
Yeah, so first of all, just kind of looking back on last year's game again, you look at it being kind of a game that who's going to make the big play. WKU lost 2 fumbles offensively last year. U of L returned one of those for a touchdown kind of late in the game. So it's going to come down to who's going to be able to make those big plays late in the game that's going to change the game defensively. So you want to look at a guy like Jawan Jones. D'Angelo Malone's going to get a lot of attention on that one side, so that brings Jawan Jones a lot of opportunity on the other side. He had a big game against Louisville last year, 2.5 tackles for loss, 8 total tackles. That's a good game. If he has that again, I think that's going to be a recipe for success for this WKU defense. Not only him, but I'm also looking in the middle too. Big Jeremy Darvin. I really think he's going to have a big season. I think with Jawan Jones and D'Angelo Malone on the outside, that's going to give him a lot more opportunity when those two guys draw double teams to make some plays on the inside. So I'm looking for him. And then not only him, but like Noah mentioned, Roger Cray, I think he's going to have a really good season. He wasn't healthy all the season last year. I think he only played about 6 games. And he's already gotten some compliments from Clayton White as far as the scrimmages have gone in fall camp. So I think he's in for a big season. But, 9 returning starters on this WKU defense, they're going to be pretty nasty all season long, I think. But I'm really going to focus on, who are the guys that are going to step up and make the big plays other than D'Angelo Malone. Because he's going to be wreaking havoc all season long, and I expect nothing less in this first game. But who's going to make the big plays for this defense?
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Now, kind of talked about offense-defense matchups for Western. Obviously, I'll kind of mention and go with special team. Just kind of what do you see in that regard? Obviously, Munson's returning, Haggerty's returning. Noah, just kind of, I'll start with you. Just kind of talk about that. What do you see special team-wise from Western, and obviously that could be a pretty big factor in this game.
Yeah, and as we saw from 2 years ago, whenever the Tops actually almost upset Louisville, I guess if you want to call it an upset, because both of them were equally as bad as each other in that year, they missed a lot of field goals. So it could come down to special teams, but I do believe field position will be a part of it, because you don't want to give Louisville a short field, therefore they get to just pound the rock down your throat. But at the same time, make your field goals when you have the opportunities, because this is going to be a game where if Western is not in control early, Louisville's going to control the tempo and the time of possession in this game. They're going to do what they want. They're going to grind the clock out. So it's going to be important for them to capitalize on field position and score whenever they get into the position to do so, because it's just going to come down to staying on the field as long as you can. You want to keep Louisville's offense off the field and impose your own will. So whenever they have to punt away, you want to pin them back as far as you can. And obviously Haggerty is very available. He can do that, very capable. And then Corey Munson, hopefully the ice will still be running in his veins from December. So we'll see how that works out in terms of the kicking game.
Good deal. Casey, Tyler, anything else you guys want to add to just talk about special teams with Western Kentucky?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start with saying Louisville is losing a 4-year starter at kicker in Blanton Creaky. I just kind of wanted to mention him a little bit. I played high school football with him, excellent kicker, so that's going to be a disadvantage for Louisville in this game. Can we get a rush on Louisville's new kicker, and can we pressure him into missing some field goals? Because if you're losing a kicker as experienced as Creaky was, that's going to make the special teams kind of shaky for them starting out in the season. So we got to be able to take advantage of that. And then, like I said earlier about Roger Cray being back, he's returning punts again this year. Talked to him about that in the press conference the other day. So he could be pretty dangerous in the punt return game. And then like Noah mentioned a little bit, Munson having that whole season under his belt and having that game-winning kick to finish off the season is only going to help him. So I think, we get inside the 40, even inside the 35-yard line this year. Look for him to be, kicking the ball more, and Helton decided to kick the ball more. So I'm really going to be interested to see what our kicking game looks like and what theirs does too.
Gotcha. Tyler, got anything else?
That's a good point, Casey. Creaky was really good last year. He was so consistent for Louisville, and he played a big role in that win too. And I think for Western, having Corey Munson back and John Haggerty, those are two great guys that we saw last year. Haggerty can pin punts at the 1, the 5, the 10, wherever he wants to. He has a great foot. And Munson, of course, just the way he finished out last year after, up and down freshman season, I think they'll be fine special teams-wise. And I think, like, Cray returning punts now, maybe get Gage Walker back there a couple times or whoever else, I think they'll be fine special teams-wise. And that could be a big factor throughout the year, especially this weekend.
All right, good stuff. Obviously, we'll kind of switch and just we'll go with predictions, man. I'll ask each of you to kind of, maybe hit on anything else in terms of matchups, things like that we haven't really talked about. And then B, give your predictions at the end here. So, Casey, I'll start with you.
Okay, so first of all, I kind of just wanted to mention this a little bit. We got Malik Staples back at running back for the Hilltoppers, facing his former team, the Louisville Cardinals. He's been a linebacker for the first 3 years of his college career. He had mentioned in a Zoom conference a couple of weeks ago, grinning ear to ear when he said it. He said him and Gage Walker are going to be like thunder and lightning this year. So I'm really hoping that my man Malik gets some carries in this game and kind of can be a change of pace kind of guy. I think it's going to be a really tight defensive battle for most of the game. I think you're really going to see which one of these teams handle the adversity well with this offseason, with there being, COVID going on, with fall camp being short and everything being moved around like it has. You're really going to be able to tell who has been able to stay disciplined and which coach has really got their team mentally ready for this game. This is going to be a big in-state game for both teams for some bragging rights. I'm going to go ahead and say 24-21 WKU. I think Corey Munson is going to come in the clutch pretty big late in this game again with a field goal. And go ahead and chalk up the dub for the Tops, man.
All right, Casey, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to write every one of you guys' predictions down, and we're going to talk about it next time, or I'm going to just talk a bunch of crap to you on Twitter. So just
and also post it on our site too, Staff Predictions.
That's right, Staff Predictions. So I got you down for 24-21 in dramatic fashion, Casey. So
oh yes,
you're on record, man. So Noah, you're up next.
All right, my turn. So one thing I guess I want to talk about is I mentioned earlier, I don't think it's been talked about enough is in terms of tackles, they're really important. Obviously, you got to protect your quarterback, and losing Miles Pate who was a absolute stud at right tackle. It's going to hurt. So whoever ends up sliding into that spot, they're going to have to deal with Dorian Etheridge and Yasir Abdullah from what Louisville calls the dog spot and their 3-4. I absolutely love that. So they're going to send all kinds of different pressure packages and stunts that whoever's starting their way. So it's going to be important for Pigram to stay calm and move his feet in the pocket and make sure that he can get out whenever he has to, just to stay poised, especially being on a road game week 1 in a hostile environment, despite the crowd not being as big as it normally would be. But I'm actually I know I'm new to the game prediction things. This is my first real podcast with you guys. I'm gonna go 37-17 Louisville. Actually, I think Louisville's too athletic. They present too many issues on the perimeter, and I think their defense is fast and experienced, and they're going to get after it early on their home field.
All right, Noah, you're in the haterade category for all the WKU fans, so mark that down.
I'm a realist.
Haterade. Hey, I'm not hating on you. The WKU fans probably will, though. But no, that's it. Okay, that's from Noah. Tyler, I'm curious to see what you got.
If I'm wrong, then I'm going with my head. I get a rain check.
Right.
Just making sure.
All right, your floor, Tyler.
See, and in this profession, but for teams we cover, I want to choose who I think is going to win no matter what. I'm not going to give them this love, because you know what? I like being right. See, you know what? So with that said, here's my pick. I think last year I went I got 6 or 7 right last year. It wasn't the best. But this year we're starting off on the right foot. And here's why. Louisville, all around, I think they're an overall better team just because of what they have back offensively. I think Western's defense is just as good, if not better, as we've seen last year and this year, Coup coming in, everything they have back. But Mikael Cunningham, Des Fitzpatrick, Tutu Atwell, those three names just are stuck in my head because they played so well last year and throughout the year too. I think it's going to be a very, very, very tough challenge for Western's defense. I know Clayton White will have the guys ready, but I can't see a Louisville team opening week 1 at home with everything they have back offensively losing this game. I do think Western plays well, puts a fight up, but until I can see what Tyrell can do leading the offense, I can't choose Western over Louisville right now. I think it's competitive. I think Western's defense will be fine. I think Pigram will have his struggles early and kind of regroup from there. But I think when it's all said and done, I think Louisville wins. Give me a score of about, let's go, I'll say 34-24, right there in that 10-point range. I think Western will beat the spread, which is 11.5 right now. Probably drop again too. But I think Louisville wins this game. But it should be fun and entertaining for a week 1. And I think even if Western does lose, they'll see what they did wrong. And then week 2 against Liberty will be a different story.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, an opening week loss to Louisville is not bad. I mean, consider what happened last year, in Central Arkansas, and honestly, Central Arkansas wasn't a bad team in FCS standards either. So, but yeah, it's always a tough task for a Conference USA team to open up against a Power 5 team on the road. So, but yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of interesting dynamics we've all kind of talked about leading into this game. I've got all your score predictions down, so ready for staff predictions later this week. I'll put that together, and that way we'll keep track throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go, I don't really have anything else. So you guys got anything else you want to add before we get off here?
Yeah, I actually do. Linebacker depth will be very key for Western here in this game because whoever's there, they're gonna have to be fitting the run against Javion Hawkins. Who watching him I've seen him plenty on television, but watching him again this week, he's a really special player. And so obviously Kyle Bailey's a stud. If you see my Twitter, whenever I see something about Kyle Bailey, I brag on him because he's a great space factor in Clayton White's defense. And with Will, I believe is Will Ignat, yes, from Tennessee. I think that I don't know if we have an official roster of who's going to start at the Mike backer spot, but after watching him, I believe that he will be the one that slides in that role in front of Clay Davis. And then, of course, Jane Hunter's right behind him. So one thing that Western's going to have going for them is that while they're going to have to compete with all this speed, they have it at the second level in the linebacker spot and the athleticism to run with these guys. But I'll justify my score prediction. It's just because of quarterback. I told Tyler back in the summer, if Louisville and Western ran it back from last year, I would take Western to win because of Ty Story. It's just because of the quarterback spot. I just don't know. So that's the reason why I'm going with it's why I chose a 20-point win. That's all I got.
Yeah. Noah, you don't have to justify it, okay, man? I'm just saying.
I know I don't have to. I was just, in case anybody did wonder, that's why. It's just because of the quarterback spot. It's the most important position on the field. So until we see what it's like with Piggy T out there under center, I can't give my fair judgment.
Exactly. I mean, you got Louisville that's pretty knows what they got with Cunningham. Western Kentucky, not so sure about Pigram. I mean, he's new, so there's a lot of factors there. Tyler, Casey, you guys got anything else to add before we hit the road?
All I'm going to say is make sure you are tuned in to InsideHilltopperSports.com. I've never been more excited for a football season in my entire life, which means content's going to be outstanding. We're going to have so much stuff this year. Looking forward to it. I mean, previews, recaps, feature stories, film breakdowns, film reviews, all kinds of stuff. Just make sure you're tuned in. If you're not subscribed to the site, subscribe, please, because there's so much content coming out. And it's going to be a fun year. And I'm pumped up. And Saturday night, I'll be on my A game. So y'all be ready.
Yeah, I mean, Casey's double dipping. I mean, he's part of our site, and he's WQ Herald's beat writer. So he's pretty busy guy right now.
Yeah, I just do it at home.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fun, all about WKU this year. But I think it is worth noting, this is the biggest Kentucky football game in state we got this year. I mean, UK and U of L aren't playing. UK and WKU aren't playing. So I think we should call this the unofficial Governor's Cup, maybe. I mean, this
really could be
right. this is for state bragging rights. So we'll see who comes out on top. But yeah, this is a big game to start the season.
All right, good deal. Before we go, I'll just go around the horn. Start with you, Casey. Just let everybody know where they can find you on Twitter and plug anything else you got, whether it's for the Herald or for us.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at the Casey Warner, CASEYWARNER. That's how you spell my name. Yeah, but just good stuff from all these guys. We got a good crew here this year. I'm really happy this season was, first of all, able to happen. I'm really happy to be able to join you all for this season because, last year I was kind of just getting involved with you all, but this year, I'm all in it and I'm ready to go. So let's just do this, guys. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, you're in it. You're in it 10 toes deep. I mean, you're asking Brian Ellis for the game plan just to start off the week.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you know it, man. Got to get the inside scoop always.
Yeah. All right. Noah, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter and plug anything else you want to plug, man.
I don't have anything to plug. At Noah NCGH Sports, I believe is what it is. It wasn't the full last name, so I had to cut it off right there at the end. That's fine though. Yeah, man, I'm just really excited for this weekend. We don't know what the season will look like in terms of longevity, and when it gets later into the colder months, what happens, but. You take it week by week, just as any other cliche football coach would say. You take it week by week. You bring your hard hat and lunch pail to work every single day. That's what we're going to do, too, here at InsideHilltopperSports.com.
Yeah, we'll have to get you a marketing guy that knows what your Twitter handle is.
Yeah.
You write that down. All right, Tyler, go ahead. Plug your Twitter handles and your multiple sporting outlets.
Well, guys, football season's back, and I'm the happiest guy in the face of – the whole probably town Bowling Green because, man, my last game I covered was like March 11th or 12th. I have never been that long away from sports my entire life. So, yeah, I'm glad we got a season of some sort. I'm glad it's everything I put together, both high school and Western-wise, too. Just this week, I'll have high school Friday, Western Saturday. So, pretty fired up. Follow me on Twitter, at by Mansfield, at BY, like the stories by Tyler Mansfield, you get it, at by Mansfield. Of course, football, if you want high school stuff, be sure to follow me on there too for Friday night stuff. I think I'll be at Warren East South Warren Friday night if you're in the area and interested in that. Saturday, of course, I'll be at Louisville. I'll get there early, so we'll have pregame stuff, postgame stuff, during the game stuff. Make sure you're following us too. Of course, our channel's at WKU_Rivals on Twitter. Be sure to follow us there too. So we'll be doing multi-platform stuff, but it's football season, folks. Let's do it.
Tyler, you forgot to mention your Southern Kentucky prep stuff.
Yes, I do. I do operate a high school platform site in Bowling Green. It is Southern Kentucky Preps at SoKyPreps.com. Of course, I've had team previews running the last 2 weeks now. I got a few more to finish up today. And then, of course, we'll have our game preview for South Warren East on Thursday come out. Game picks on Friday. And then, of course, Friday night coverage like usual. So this is year number – I think 6 for me covering local high schools. So pretty excited and ready to get going.
If I go shameless plug real quick, even though I won't be at the game, I will be providing my insight and all my commentary on the game, a little more in-depth stuff as I see it. Sean shook his head. I don't know what I guess he didn't know what I was going to say. He was kind of worried. So
You're scanning, boy. You're loose scanning. I gotta reel you in. Yeah, that sounds good, man. You should start a thread on our site and just post your thoughts on there, and then just link it out on Twitter.
Noah's live thoughts.
I'm being your publicist right now. If you remember how to log into your Twitter account, remember the password. I'll hook you up with that too if you need help.
I do know that.
Okay.
I do know my Twitter password, thankfully.
Okay, good deal. Sounds great, man. You guys have all done good stuff. Really love working with you guys. Happy to see you guys shine. Casey, Noah, really, Tyler, and really appreciate all the work you guys have done. And, man, football's here, thank God. And looking forward to working with you guys for the next few weeks and, the next year if you want to stick around. I mean, it's y'all's decision. So, all right, on behalf of Inside Hilltopper Sports, we are out.